gentlemen, these are the facts as I understand them. 1. I am not afraid of no ghosts. 2. I am scared, you maggots. Dismissed. Marasmus! Damn it, Marasmus, get out here!
Never anger.
Howdy ho, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about both consumables and as well as utilities done on both sides of Dying Light games. I am not going to be including one that doesn't exist on either side, like Dying Light 2 having the boosters that focus on elemental effects, and as well as, the Grandma's Eggnog or the Halloween pumpkin boosters and shit, and etc. I'm mainly going to be talking about the ones that pretty much either function exactly the same, or function very similarly to each other. The way this video is mostly going to be working is I'm going to be talking about both sides and how they work, and if they function similarly, and as well as their upsides and downsides, and as well as which is better on end. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it, talking about the boosters first. There are different variants to the boosters on both sides, so I'm going to be talking about them one at a time. Firstly, starting off with the stamina booster. The stamina booster in Dying Light 1 primarily focuses on providing infinite stamina on your combat stamina. Wow, that's a very weird way to say it. It does not provide you with infinite stamina when it comes to running. You will still get tired whenever you're running around, so yeah, this mostly focuses on, I guess, combat and being able to spam abilities and as well as skills and etc. Which is kind of nice, but I don't really personally use it myself because running out of stamina is hardly a problem, and plus even if you do run out of stamina, the stamina regeneration is significantly quicker compared to Dying Light 1, and you have a lot of stuff that you can do, unlike in Dying Light 2, where your movement is very restricted in some ways. So, I don't really use it myself personally, but it can be very effective if you're planning on spamming the two-handed weapon with the windmill skill, or even spam tackle and as well as ground slam or whatever, head stomp it, etc. It's neat, it does what it needs to do. As for Dying Light 2, it just mostly increases your stamina instead of providing infinite stamina, and it's based on percentage wise, so the more stamina you have, the bigger the percentage is going to be. No shit. But anyway, this is effective, so if you have a weapon that takes a lot of stamina, the endurance booster can be significantly helpful. But be careful, because if you run out of stamina, the stamina regeneration on Dying Light 2 is significantly slower unless you have some sort of armor set to sort of help you with that stamina regeneration. I guess I can go with the Dying Light 1's version of the stamina booster because it's infinite, and the thing is, the boosters in Dying Light 1 have a much more shorter duration. Like, the duration is less than a minute, at least 30 to 40 seconds at max, and in Dying Light 2, at level 1, the duration is 60 seconds or 2 minutes or so, or 3 minutes at least. So yeah, it's sure, Dying Light 2 has more duration, but Dying Light 1 has the infinite one. So which one is better? That's up to you to decide. But for me, I'll choose with Dying Light 1 because of the fact that it's infinite. But then again, running out of stamina or recovering stamina is significantly quicker, yada yada yada, you get the gist of it. Anyway, let's go over with the other ones. The speed booster in Dying Light 1 is self-explanatory. It just pretty much makes you faster, but it also does have another attribute to it. That being that it provides you with infinite stamina when it comes to running around. If you don't have the agility skill where it gives you infinite stamina for running around, then this one, the speed booster, is also going to be a replacing alternative, sort of. And it does what it needs to do. It just makes you run around faster, and that's pretty much it. Your legs move faster, and thus allowing you to move around the area faster. Why am I even explaining this? It literally says what it needs to do. That's all I can say. Again, I don't use this myself. It's because, like I said, the duration is very short that it doesn't really become that much big of a difference. You might as well just use a quiet dagger for that matter. And even if you don't, you just simply stick with the grappling hook and other ways to move around. It's not... Here's the thing. If it had a 2-minute duration, then yeah, it could have been very effective. But because of how short it is, it's not really that useful to begin with. Dying Light 2 doesn't necessarily have a booster that primarily focuses on giving you extra movement speed, but there is a booster that sort of does give you movement speed. The one I'm talking about that gives you extra movement speed boost is the Rage booster, because your initial movement speed is slow, meaning that you start off slow, but you gradually start moving faster. And Dying Light 2's movement speed is significantly much more quicker because you can still perform a sprint when you're under this effect. So I guess Dying Light 2 is better, but then again, it's kind of hard to say because Rage booster makes you blurry and yada yada yada, you get the gist of it. The Resistance booster is one of the most overpowered thing that Dying Light 1 has, and it's really saying something, because Dying Light 1 is already an easy game, even though on Nightmare difficulty, and this booster literally just breaks the game. It makes you immune to 90% of the attacks, except for goons and demolishers. Against goons and demolishers, sometimes the resistance booster does work, sometimes it does not, so you kind of have to be a little bit careful. But then again, you're not really going to be using these boosters against these bigger boys. You're more or less going to be using these for the sake of human enemies with guns, or if you're planning on farming materials or money on nighttime against volatiles and etc. It literally makes you unkillable. The only time it does not work is against like elemental effects like fire, toxin, or even explosions for that matter. So any sort of explosive is going to instantly kill you, and as well as fall damage is going to also kill you the same way as it is. So yeah, if you're a 50-year-old something man, this shit is not going to help you in any way. It just mostly focuses on something that's going to be lethal. But actually, but cuts and slashes are also. You know what? I'm not gonna go into that deeper because it doesn't make any fucking sense. But anyway. The toughness booster in Dying Light 2 is just, it provides you with a bit of a damage resistance, and that's it. Although the difference between them is that this one provides less resistance, but it also has a longer duration, and as well as also has a unique attribute to it where it reduces the staggering effect or completely removes it depending on the level of the toughness booster. And that's pretty much it. Which one do I prefer? Well, I guess Dying Light 2, because Dying Light 1 is already an easy game despite the enemies being so fucking janky and as well as, you know, being problematic in their own ways. So Dying Light 2, especially if you have something like the tank or the brawler armor gear set, it is very effective and very powerful, allowing you to sort of jump in and not get killed instantly, because the enemies in Dying Light 2 are slow but pack a heavy punch. So if you made a mistake, then the toughness booster is going to save your ass and prevent you from getting staggered or stun locked in any way, and as well as allow you to stay alive a longer, paired with the regeneration booster, and it's going to really help you a lot. There is no regeneration booster in Dying Light 1, so I'm not really going to be talking about it, but Dying Light 2's regeneration booster is very good. It's going to keep you alive and allow you to survive more attacks, and yada yada yada. You don't need to use medkits that often, so yeah, it's pretty good. It does what it needs to do. Now let's talk about the Nightrunner booster, because there really isn't a booster that primarily focuses on you increasing your damage besides the Nightrunner booster, but let's talk about it. I'm going to be talking about the damage increase itself, and then as well as the muscle booster on the second game. The Nightrunner booster, or the damage increase itself, is literally overpowered, allowing you to literally one-shot enemies if your weapon does good enough damage, like a 5,000 damage like machete or some shit. Allowing you to one-shot like half of the enemies without a fucking effort in the world that you can already do that is pretty much bullshit, and as well as it allows you to fight off volatiles very quickly and just pretty much execute them. Although the other variant of the volatile, where they're like much more tankier, the fucking blue variants, what do you want to call these ugly pieces of shit, these guys are gonna take more effort and more fucking slices to kill them, because they're already boring enough and more janky to fight off against, so why not make them even more tankier, because fuck you, that's why. Anyway, as for the muscle booster in Dying Light 2, it's overpowered, it does what it needs to do, and it's pretty damn good. Because of how tanky the enemies are in Dying Light 2 and how much they scale in health, this thing is going to really significantly help you and have a bigger impact, allowing you to dish out a lot of damage, especially against larger targets. Paired with a two-handed weapon and the highest amount of damage increase with armor sets, and you got yourself a very powerful Aiden that is able to literally just shred anything that comes in his way. There is no problem with it. Both sides are good, but I prefer Dying Light 2's more because of the extra longer duration. And that's pretty much it. But now let's go over with the entirety of the Nightrunner booster and another booster that pretty much functions the same way in Dying Light 2, that being the Rage booster. The Nightrunner booster is primarily exclusive to the PvP mode, where defeating the Nightrunner grants you the ability to craft a Nightrunner booster and as well as get its gland, allowing you to craft it. And the recipe is very simple, but it primarily focuses on you playing the game mode more, because you can't really find the Nightrunner gland on like the base game itself. You are forced to play PvP. But is it any good? Yes, it provides you with a speed increase, infinite stamina on combat, resistance, and as well as damage increase, which is really damn good. It makes the games 10 times more easier than it already is. I don't really need to say much. It's a 10 out of 10 consumable. My only gripe I have is the fact that it only lasts for like 40 or 30 seconds or so. Another funny thing about it is that it actually heals you for like 2 health when you drink it, which is actually kind of funny. The other boosters don't do that, so it's kind of weird, but kind of funny at the same time, so yeah. The Rage booster in Dying Light 2 is also very overpowered, but the difference between this and the other boosters is that, for one, it doesn't have the damage softness or the hit reaction or the stun lock removing aspect like the toughness booster gives out, and your vision is also blurry. And another problem with it is that your initial movement speed is also slower, like I previously mentioned with the speed booster comparison, and as well as it has a significantly shorter duration compared to the others. But it's more like an emergency use thing and like a short term thing, where if you're planning on going like a dark zone during the day, like a GRE, like hospital, or like a dark hollow, or like a forsaken store, then using this booster is going to really help you, because it provides you with 100% damage increase and 100% damage resistance. But the problem is you don't have any like hit reaction softened like the toughness booster, your vision is blurry, and as well as your movement speed is slower when you first start moving around. But it is very powerful because you deal shitload of damage than the muscle booster itself. So in a short-term way, when it comes to like fighting off hordes of enemies, it is going to be overpowered. And if you have tank set with a damage reduction, you're practically just unkillable in any way. Which one do I prefer? The rage booster, because of how quick you're able to kill off of enemies, even the volatile tyrants if you're very careful and able to dodge their attacks in one way or another. But hey, this is just my opinion. So yeah, the night vision booster on both sides are pretty good, but I prefer the second game more because it has a longer duration, and that's pretty much it. But they're both on good sides, but please, for the love of God, do not take this on daytime because you're literally gonna be Stevie Wonders the second. So yeah, don't even fucking try to consume this shit. So yeah, that's all the boosters. Although one thing I can say about the boosters on both sides is I prefer the Dying Light 2 boosters significantly more, mainly because of two reasons. For one is you're able to actually buy these one from Baka or from the Peacekeepers if you side with them. Some stores, or 90% of the stores on Peacekeepers that they have, is they allow you to purchase boosters being like from low level or mid level ranging. It's randomized, but this is pretty good, is if you're struggling to have materials to craft the boosters, so Peacekeepers are going to be very helpful if you're planning on having a lot of boosters on your hands. Another reason I prefer the boosters in Dying Light 2 more is because of their much more longer duration. It allows you to sort of continue the fight or fight enemies and as well as move around and still have the booster alongside with you. So yeah, the boosters in Dying Light 1 are good, but the problem I have with them is how short the duration is, that to the point that it's not really that useful to use them as a way to either move around the map or fight like large crowds of enemies in a longer period and yada yada yada. It's more focused on short-term ways, which is good, but then again, if you're planning on like farming, you're gonna be drinking a lot of the boosters if you want to farm on nighttime and etc etc. So yeah, that's the reason as to why I prefer Dying Light 2's boosters more over than the first, because they're much more easier to get and accessible, and as well as because of their duration. Now let's go over with the utilities real quick, one at a time on each side. The Firecrackers on both sides does what it needs to do. It distracts both human enemies and as well as the infected, although the difference between them is that whenever an infected already has line of sight of you, some enemies will still go after the Firecracker when you throw at them, even against the volatiles. But not all of them. Some will go after it, some will don't. As for Dying Light 2, as long as they have a line of sight of you, they're not going to ignore you, as they will always hunt you down, regardless of if you throw a Firecracker at them. The only infected that will go after the Firecracker, regardless of if you're surrounded or not, will be the biters, but that's pretty much self-explanatory because they're brain dead as shit. But as for like the other enemies, is as long as they have line of sight on Dying Light 2, they will still go after you, even if you throw it at them. But if they lose sight, they will go after the Firecracker, which can be very effective if you're hiding on like a table or on like really tall bushes. But as for Dying Light 2, it can be very effective as a way to sort of help you out and escape. But then again, escaping enemies on Dying Light 1 is like significantly easy, even if you don't have like the grappling hook or, you know, fast climbing skills. It's very easy to lose them, so yeah, you don't really have to worry about them. But as for human enemies, like you can use it as a way to get like a quick stealth attack, but it is a lot more effective on Dying Light 2, mainly because of the fact that you can use stab and stab follow-up skills as a way to insta-kill two human enemies or damage one and, you know, lower their health to the point where they don't really become a problem. Like, they can also, like, set things on fire, like, areas that are covered in gasoline and etc. If they're thrown on, like, water areas, it's going to pretty much snuff them out quickly, and etc, etc. It can be used as a way to lure infected into traps, and you get the gist of it. Which one do I prefer? They're both good, and I don't really use Firecrackers myself personally, so I can't really say much, but if I had to choose, it would probably be Dying Light 1, mainly because of the fact that it can be used as a way to distract volatiles even when they're chasing you. So, yeah. But I'm not saying like Dying Light 2 is a Firecracker is bad. It's good. It does what it needs to do, and yada yada yada. Let's talk about the shield. The shield in Dying Light 1 is very good, but the big problem I have with them is their very terrible durability. But they're very good, as they're able to literally block 99% of the attacks in Dying Light 1. I said 99% of the attack because the only attack that you can't really block is the human enemy's kicks on Dying Light 1, which they will do a lot. And if they kick you, you will be staggered and leave you completely vulnerable for a brief period. But why is it overpowered and why is it terrible? It's overpowered because, like I said, it pretty much blocks every attack that is in front of you, and it's terrible because of how low the durability is. Even if you have the Ultimate Survivor skill tree, the last one on the skill tree itself, where it says it makes grappling hooks and as well as shields more effective, or have better duration and be used effectively, it's not going to be really that effective, mainly because of the fact that their durability is terrible. The durability will not be lowered is if you perfectly time an attack, and because of how quick the enemies attack without any warning whatsoever, it can be a little bit tough to sort of perfectly block an attack. But then again, why would you be perfectly blocking an attack when you can literally just spam the same attack without the enemies even give two singular fucks? It's not like in Dying Light 2 where they're able to dodge it more frequently if you spam the same attacks. No, they're going to be dumb as fuck and just like, just walk into everything. You don't really need to block, and even against volatiles, you already have a UV light or UV flares to be able to repel them, so there's really no point of using them unless you're really terrible at combat against like human enemies. But then again, they're very easy to exploit if you know what you're doing. Just simply have grapple, which you can already get it very early on into the game, and just abuse them with that. So yeah, the shield is one of those things where it is very good, but it's like very underwhelming and overshadowed by a lot of aspects in Dying Light 2, like Dying Light 1, pardon me, where they get very overshadowed by a lot of aspects like throwing weapons, like the freezing throwing stars against human enemies, and as well as grapple or drop attack and etc. Like it's like the good thing is that you can get it for free, and as for like the elemental effects, it can be used as a way to stun lock some enemies, but then again, just use like grenades for fuck's sake. So yeah, just use your materials to craft like freezing grenades or like exploding trap bombs. You're better off using those than a fucking claymore shield or what the fuck other shield variants they are. They're effective, but you're better off using your materials on crafting other stuff that I previously mentioned. As for Dying Light 2, they're a little bit more better because of the fact that they're infinite and have no durability, and you can use it either with a shield, like being the Carnage Manica, or with your weapon itself. So yeah, you can either perfectly block an attack or just keep continuously blocking to ensure that, you don't get attacked. But the difference between the Carnage Manica and as well as normal blocking is whenever you're out of stamina, you only reduce the amount of damage you would take when blocking instead of like 100%, that was a terrible voice crack, instead of 100% of the damage that you would normally block. The Carnage Manica ensures that you don't take any damage even if you're out of stamina. But against like the bigger enemies, it's not really that effective, but then again, you're not really going to be using the shield against the larger enemies. You're probably just going to be spending time like dodging around because that's your primary way to dodge them or counter them, or just use like a boomstick to sort of stop them in their tracks, or UV lights for that matter. So yeah. The Carnage Manica can be used against human enemies, virals, and as well as biters, against volatiles and other bigger enemies. It reduces the damage, but you're not better off using a UV light or the boomstick for that matter. But against human enemies and as well as virals and biters, it can be very effective because if you perfectly block an attack, it allows you to use them as a combo way, whether that be a vault kick, double jump, and as well as, vault kick, or whenever you perform a double jump, it allows you to perform a ground pound, which can be very good. And as for the Carnage Manica, it allows you to be able to block heavy attacks, which can be very good, and as well as put modifications on it where they don't run out or get destroyed entirely. It stays with the Carnage Manica as long as you have it within you, which is very damn good. So I prefer the Dying Light 2's blocking mechanics even more because it's infinite, and as well as it can be modified and not have to worry about, running out in some ways. And yeah, the modifications themselves alone are very different. They all function differently, and depending on what you want is up to you. None of them feel similar or exactly the same way. They're all good, so pick your poison, essentially. So yeah, the Grappling Hook in Dying Light 1 is fine. It just takes you to point A to point B, which I don't like because it makes parkour be more like a backseat feature. And you might think, well, don't use it, but because of the fact that I'm a PvP player, Grappling Hook is more of like an essential and important necessity within your arsenal, so I kind of need to have it on PvP, but on base game itself, it's kind of boring because, like I said, it makes parkour be a backseating feature. It makes it forgettable, it makes the game too easy, yada yada yada. I don't like it. It can be used in a parkour way, or, pardon me, in a combat way, because you can perform a ground pound or a drop attack, but you need a weapon for that one. As for Dying Light 2, it is a lot more versatile and a lot more fun to use because you can sort of launch yourself around the city with like a Spider-Man, or even if the buildings are not tall enough or too big or, not close to each other, you can use it as a way to reach ledges that you normally wouldn't be able to reach with a run and jump, or allow you to use it in a more combat way without any weapons whatsoever. You can literally just use the Grappling Hook as your only weapon throughout the Dying Light game, and you would still do a very good job because it allows you to kick, pull enemies towards you, grab a certain object like an extinguisher, or as well as a propane tank, or use it as a way to perform an attack like air kick, smash, or as a way to perform ground pound, and etc., or drag it towards the enemy to you, and etc. It can be used in many ways, so I prefer Dying Light 2's more because of the fact that it's versatile on both parkour and as well as parkour and combat, and if you know how to use it in a parkour way, it is one of the most fastest way to traverse around the map because of how far the kick launches you, which is very good. So yeah. Now let's talk about the camouflage. And the camouflage on both sides are very good, but I'm mainly going to be talking about the cloak potion that you can consume on the first game. The cloak potion just pretty much allows you to camouflage enemies without the use of a corpse, which is pretty good. But the difference between the camouflage system on both games is if enemies see you use the cloak potion on infected especially, some will notice it, some will not notice it. Those that will notice it will go after you, some that don't notice it will not go after you whatsoever. It is not good against like the other variant of the volatile because they're still able to see through your disguise. But as for like the basic volatiles, they're able to literally just forget about you entirely. Some will forget about you, some will not. As a way to escape, it can be very effective, and you can still attack enemies, although if you continuously attack enemies, other infected will notice it and go after you, as they will get suspicious and go after you. As a way to escape, it can be effective, but it's more or less used for the sake of PvP. That's pretty much it. But in the base game itself, it can be fine as a way to like lockpick a chest that's like in the middle of a horde, or like loot areas that are like overwhelmed with infected, etc. As a way to escape, again, escaping enemies in Dying Light 1 is like so fucking easy that you don't really need it. As for Dying Light 2, it's a definition of a get out of jail free card, because even if you're surrounded by hundreds of volatile tyrants, the most powerful infected in the entire game, if you use it in front of their faces, they will literally just forget about you entirely. Although the difference between them is that you cannot touch anyone. If you even remotely breathe on them on the wrong direction, jump on them, kick them, or even accidentally hit them in any way, you're going to lose your disguise quickly. The only way you can lose your disguise on the first game is if you use a gun. That's it. As for Dying Light 2, any damage or any disturbance to the enemy will literally remove your camouflage. So yeah, it is a little bit slower than the first game, but it's not really that much big of a problem, so yeah. Which one would I prefer? Dying Light 2, mainly because of the fact that it literally allows every single enemy to forget about you, unlike in Dying Light 1, where certain enemies will still remember you, even if you use a cloak potion. So yeah, that's... Although the problem with the camouflage grease on Dying Light 2 is that it requires you to use infected trophies, which makes it a little bit more expensive and honey at the same time. So yeah, but it is very effective. Very powerful, even at level 1, allowing you to literally escape any chases without any problems, or be able to maneuver around certain areas where there's a lot of infected without any problems is very good. Even if you bump into them or stealthily kill them in front of them, they're not going to give two singular fucks about it. So yeah, the only thing you can do against enemies on Dying Light 2 when you're camouflage is use stealth attacks. That's it. So yeah, I prefer Dying Light 2's more because of the instant get out of jail free card. So yeah, it's pretty effective. But now let's go over with the good old UV lights. The UV flares and as well as the UV flashlight. I'm going to be talking about Zaid's flares in Dying Light 1 because the basic flare and as well as the Zaid's flare pretty much function exactly the same way, but the difference between them is that Zaid's flares are literally have a longer duration. That's it. The UV light in general, I'm only going to be like including both of them, is they're very inconsistent, especially against like biters that turn into virals. I think they're called like Nightrunners or some shit, or Nightwalkers, but I'm going to call them Nightrunners because they run around and right, no shit. Anyway, against volatiles as well as the Nightrunners, it is a little bit inconsistent because sometimes they will ignore the UV light entirely, sometimes they will not, and even if you're standing inside a UV flare, volatiles are still able to pounce on you. Virals or the Nightwalkers, whatever the fuck you want to call them, they're still able to literally attack you. Sometimes they will ignore you entirely or ignore the light. Sometimes they will still go after. Sometimes they will literally get stunned by it for like 20 years or so, even if the light is completely out. And when you're shining your light at them, they're going to be stunned for like a brief moment and then they're going to instantly hop onto you. Even if there's a volatile that you first encounter that just comes out of nowhere, and if they start jumping at you, and if you shine your light, it's a 50-50. They either get stunned instantly, or they don't get stunned instantly and just pounce on you entirely. And the game gives you the idea that you can still use it when you got pounced on by a volatile, which, sure, you can use it, but 99% of the time it's not going to work because the other volatiles are not going to fucking get affected by it for some reason. The problem I have with the UV light in Dying Light 1, especially with the flashlight and its UV flare, is that it is very inconsistent against both the Nightwalkers and as well as the volatiles. You have to literally rely on luck and hope to God that they even get stunned for at least a second, because if it's not covering their entire body, it's not going to do fuck all against them. It's literally just going to ignore them or even give them a slight tan, and that's it. They're still going to go after you. So yeah, you're better off using a grappling hook or just using a actual trap to sort of distract them because, again, the UV light are like so fucking inconsistent in Dying Light 1 that it becomes a annoying thing. And even if when a volatile like tries to jump on you, they're just going to get affected by it entirely. But let's talk about Dying Light 2 and why it is better. If their toes are even touching the light, they're going to be burning for like 5 minutes straight. And while sure they will get immune to it, it is a lot more obvious and more consistent than in the first game. Because in the first game, because of how quick the enemies attack, it gives you zero time to tell you that, hey, the enemies are not going to be affected by it for a brief period, don't shine your light at them. But in the Dying Light 2, it is a lot more consistent, and you're sort of able to get a good understanding that they're not going to get affected by it because the animation of them starting to swing is starting and is still continuing. But you can still see it and you can still dodge it. If the enemies are even affected to 1 second or even a split second from that light, they're going to be instantly staggered by it. And even if when a volatile is about to jump on you, if you flash at them at the perfect timing, they're going to be stunned and stop their pounds entirely. But if they already jumped, it's too late because they already like launched themselves forward. But let's talk about the UV flare and why it's better. If the UV light, even if it's like level 1, like the shortest range that it has, if you're standing on it, they are not going to approach you. Nah, they're not even going to bother like getting any close to you. They will try to spit at you, sure, but they're not going to approach you. They're either going to wait it out, or they're going to run away and just leave you the fuck alone. The good thing about Dying Light 2's UV light is that the game gives you a understanding of like when the enemies are immune, because the enemies actually have a slower attack speed when you already are shining a light at them and they're about to attack you. In Dying Light 1, the game doesn't really tell you that they're immune by it because they attack so fucking quickly that it doesn't really become noticeable. You just kind of have to hope that, is he stunned or is he not stunned? So you kind of have to gamble your life away and hope to God that they're actually staying stunned for more than a minute or so. So, yeah. Let's talk about the sort of miscellaneous stuff, the lockpick as well as the medkit, because the game considers them as utilities. The lockpick is self-explanatory. It literally allows you to break shit that are locked. That's it. No special thing. That's it. Dying Light 2 is a lot more better because you can upgrade it. It will also allow you to instantly open stuff, but at the cost of having more lockpicks. But because of how easy it is to get scrap, it's not really that much problematic, and because it will have a longer duration. So yeah, have at it. The medicine or the medkit on both games are good. They do what they need to do, but the only difference between them is that Dying Light 1 on Nightmare difficulty actually heals you over time effect, meaning that it's going to slowly, gradually heal you instead of being instantly on the lower difficulties. In Dying Light 2, they instantly heal you, but depending on the level, it impacts the both healing rate or how much you get healed, and as well as the time it takes to heal. At low level, sure, it takes a long time, but you're a beginner. It kind of makes sense. The game's sort of, you're forced to play slow and not very quickly. And as you're maxed out, having a item that is able to heal you very quickly and instantly is very good, and paired with the medic armor set, you got yourself a medkit that is able to really instantly heal you, if like all of your health, with a single medkit, or more than what it should be. That's pretty much it. As for like the different variants of the medkits that I have in Dying Light 1, I didn't really notice much difference, so let me know down in the comments if there even is any difference. So yeah. That is all I can offer. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's very long, but this is how I feel about every single equipment on both sides, especially on Nightmare difficulty. And is this a comparison unfair? Probably, but I don't really give two singular shits about it, so yeah, have at it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see each and every one of you next time. Take care of each other, and I'll see each and every one of you next time. Goodbye. Now get out of my house. Shoo.
Ow, my fucking dick!